We're joined now by Rick O'Connell, who is CEO of Dynatrace. Rick, we like the optimism, but we've certainly seen strains across in tech world. And being someone who attends a lot of tech events, I've got to say, it feels like some of the big upcoming events, there's fewer players there than what we've seen in the past, which means that a lot of people have retreated into their shell. Just describe what you're seeing in terms of that sentiment in tech world.
Well, thank you for having me. It is, as we see it, an opportunity, if you will, to win in the turns. And winning in the turns to us means that in the straightaway, everybody can compete. But in the turns, the strongest really can thrive. And that's really what we're after at Dynatrace, is finding a way to take our leadership position and extending that through the turns that we're seeing in the macro environment.
Rick, let's talk about what that means in practicality. I mean, corporates only have so much to spend. We're at a point in the cycle where margins are being hit, so companies are very keen to cost cut at this stage and take out anything they can from the business. What does that mean in terms of your world? Are we seeing some of those business decisions changed, or at least pushed out into the long grass when they think revenues and margins may just look a little different to what they look like today?
Well, we continue to see very strong spending in the digital transformation space, and that results in significant increases in cloud spending. We need look no further than the hyperscaler spend from last quarter. You look at an AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, combination of them last quarter delivered $160 billion of annualized revenue, $40 billion in the quarter, growing at 35%. This is indicative of the aggressiveness with which organizations are moving to the cloud. What we do is we provide observability capabilities to make those cloud environments work perfectly. And that's really what we're after. And we believe that there is spend that's being allocated to that with companies like BT, for example, that expects to save on the order of 28 million pounds over the coming years based on a recent release that they did by deploying Dynatrace.
Rick, market cap matters, and as you've pointed out in your own notes, I think here, or your team has, your market cap halved in less than 12 months through to, what was it, 11.7 billion as of September. So it's probably stabilized a little bit now here, but it is an important measure for companies in terms of how they're perceived by the market, how creditworthy they perceive to be, and how much investment they can actually make in their own businesses. What has changed for you as a result of this drop in the size of the company?
Well, we continue to invest and invest aggressively. We expect to add on the order of 800 people through the course of our fiscal year in fiscal 23. And as a business, we're doing just great. The points that are really in our control are our own performance. We continue to operate in the mid-30s% growth range of annual recurring revenue on a constant currency basis. We are delivering mid-20s in operating margin and high 20s in free cash flow. So we're operating at what is typically referred to, adding free cash flow to ARR growth, as about a rule of 60. And that is a very, very strongly performing company with balanced growth. That's the piece that we can control, and that's how we're managing the business, top to bottom line.
And tell us a little bit about the spending of new clients, because quite often companies continue to spend, but they reduce spending intentions as they see difficult headwinds ahead of them for their own businesses and for the larger economy that they operate in. To what extent are companies that are your clients reducing their spending intentions?
Well, we actually have seen 17 straight quarters of net expansion rate, which is really reflective of our installed base and the spending we see in our installed base of customers of more than 3,000, typically global 15,000 customers, growing at greater than 120%. So in our installed base, they understand the value of Dynatrace. They recognize the cost savings and cost efficiencies. They're leaning in and investing accordingly with us. So that's good. We're, of course, not immune from the spending environment. And it certainly is the case that some budget cycles have delayed. And that's where we adjust our OpEx to manage the business model I described earlier.
Rick, just to follow up on the thematic from you and my colleagues here as well, the cost of capital has changed dramatically in the world this year, more than we've ever seen in the last 20 years, more since the dot-com bubble burst as well. What's that done to your business or your investors' appetite? I mean, has it changed anything, the cost of capital changing?
I think it really comes back to the point I just made earlier, which is that those customers that have realized the value of Dynatrace, they see the cost efficiencies, and let's juxtapose what they're doing with Dynatrace versus what they did in the past. What they did in the past was they had a large network operations center with an army of people looking at dashboards of how their IT ecosystem is running. With Dynatrace, they have deployed a solution that delivers answers and intelligent automation from data. So we actually enable them to reduce resources and improve results. So going back to the BT example, they believe that, and stated recently, that they've reduced mean time to repair, MTTR, by as much as 90% in many cases. That's an incredible opportunity for efficiency gains over time.
Rick, there have been a lot of big themes in tech over the years as we talk about AI, Internet of Things, a ton of other terms, virtual reality, augmented reality, of course, the new ones, the metaverse and Web3. How are you thinking about some of these big themes in your business?
They all portray an environment of an explosion of data and its increase in complexity. And with the more data that we see, the more complex the data, the more you see multi-cloud, hybrid cloud environments, it becomes harder and harder and harder to analyze that environment. What we at Dynatrace do, provide, in some sense, our secret sauce, a software intelligence platform that looks at all those data types in unison, traces, metrics, logs, real user data, compiles it through an AI ops engine, and automates the process of evaluating precisely where you might see any issue, and makes it much more rapid in terms of repair time. And that really is a process that our customers have come to enjoy and appreciate from Dynatrace.
Rick, really good to hear from you today and hear about your story. Thank you very much indeed for your time, Sir Rick McConnell, CEO of Dynatrace.